This is Heal Your Mind, Heal Your Body with Dr. Schuyler. Discover how your thoughts manifest disease and what you can do about it. Here's your host, Dr. Schuyler.
Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back. And today we are going over, does your child have the time and resources to feel sick? So this is another uncomfortable topic to discuss with parents that I often have to have. And it's discussing yet another pink elephant in the therapy room when a patient shows up and they are stuck in this chronic self-imposed victim mode. And it's as if they create a problem for every solution and they seem to double down as to why they can't get better. And they seem to double down is why they can't feel better, they can't do better. And in therapy, we call this resistance, but it also serves a purpose. And it's very telling, and it gives you kind of this insight into the mindset of the patient when they become a victim of their own reality. To explain a little bit further, at any point in your life, we all fall into different phases of existence per se. Like at any given moment, we can feel like we're thriving in life or that we're not good enough. We might feel like a victim, or we feel like this warrior, like we're really cranking out in life. We're doing fantastic and we want to serve other people. And sometimes we feel like we're a martyr, like, fine, I'll do it. Or we overextend ourselves. I often see this like a room mom who can stay up all night long, getting the costumes ready or cooking all night long or baking, just seems to do everything on their own, and they just are chronically giving. So whichever phase that you're in, you can pretty much justify what your mindset is like or use your mindset to explain what phase of existence you're in, whether it be survivor, victim, martyr, you're thriving in life, or a warrior. And I talked about this in previous episodes called healing phases. So in my work, what I've seen is this modern age of devices and this very extreme device addiction phenomenon is happening, along with post-pandemic isolation. But there's other possible reasons why that children seem to be having anxiety and gut issues and autoimmune issues, and they seem to prolong without any medical explanation. And this is when we really get into this pink elephant in the room, which is so awkward to talk about. But this is kind of why I'm here, to talk about these unspoken things that happen in therapy and things that perpetuate anxiety and the disease process. And it's called the privilege of victimhood. When someone has this energy and the space and the time to become a long-term victim. And it's highlighted in their ability to avoid any responsibilities, or they're able to have so much free time, they're able to marinate in their own problems. But this is also coupled with the absence of gratitude. So some children with anxiety and autoimmune and GI issues, they run around these busy lifestyles, they're overworked, they're overextended with grades, athletics, performing, overachievers. And that's a whole separate category. What I'm talking about now in the privilege of victimhood is actually the exact opposite. These are more possibly failure to launch or retired overachievers, people that are just absolutely exhausted. And this once happy-go-lucky child who's now silent and isolated. It's as if they transform right in front of your eyes as they age, which leads to this increased anxiety or this illness being exacerbated. And the first wave of anxiety that I notice is around the age 8 or 9. And the second wave usually happens around middle school. And this is when it becomes most disruptive. Parents typically think around the age of 9, oh, they'll outgrow it. But it becomes rather disruptive in middle school, and it peaks in middle school. And the awkwardness of that age group, and you're hoping, okay, they're going to grow out of it. And then by the third wave of anxiety is early adulthood, about 18 to 23. You may notice they rarely want to leave the room, or they stop communicating and doing things they once loved. Like they just start to lose interest or motivation. So they stop doing pretty much anything but hang out in their rooms and on their devices, like doom scrolling or bed rotting. My kids call them screenagers, kids that are always on their phones or iPads. So they may complain about no in-person friends. They might have some online friends, but they don't have really any in-person friends. Or they tell you how much they miss doing the things that they love, or they just stop talking altogether, and they seem to create a problem for every solution that you offer. And you might kind of long to see them smile or laugh or engage, but you'll find them oftentimes just in their bedrooms, locked away on their screens or video games, or they're doom scrolling social media or YouTube. And they seem to like just fall into this abyss of boredom and nothingness. And this kind of funny thing I've noticed, when as parents did we start solving the I'm bored problem? Why would kids say I'm bored? We instantly have to come up with a solution. So it's as if these kids can't be bored nowadays or use their imagination. They have to resort to their devices. So it seems like you'll see this Eeyore energy, this melancholy, down or depressed energy. So this once vibrant, healthy, vivacious child seems to have their grades suffering, their interactions suffering, and they're having all their physical needs met. They're going to doctor's appointments. They've got food, water, shelter, supportive parents, dinner on the table, everything they've ever wanted, vacations, devices, games, books, toys, any type of shoe they wanted, Lululemon, any type of clothes. But they behave as if this is the worst life ever. Like they are so unhappy and it seems so perplexing to you. And their anxiety seems to cause them to withdraw even further. So a good example of this is I once had a 23-year-old patient, and she definitely was stuck in the privilege of victimhood. She had graduated from college. She had actually a real well-paying job. She was in the six figures. But outside of work, she spent so much time dwelling on the negative aspects of her circumstances. She had a roof over her head. She was renting a room from her parents. She had a great supportive family. Her remote job allowed her to travel whenever she wanted. Her family paid for the vacations. She was already saving for retirement. But she had this extreme sense of a chronic victim because she didn't have a boyfriend. And she actually became suicidal. And she actually became very depressed, and her GI symptoms became horribly devastating. So she was wallowing in this self-pity that all this time she spent online, chronically dating apps, just looking for a boyfriend, complaining that she would never find someone, that she had no one to date, she was never going to fall in love. And it's just her sense of self-worth was based on whether she could find a boyfriend or not. And she spent countless hours online dating apps and gaming, and she very rarely left her room. And every time her parents or I came up with a solution, she created a problem. And this resulted in months of sleepless nights. And she was doing the bare minimum of her job. So the truth is, she had the privilege of excess time to entertain and ruminate and overthink and obsess with a lack of gratitude. So in this excess time, lack of purpose, in this large part to overthinking, she created the privilege of victimhood. And this can happen at any age. So we live in abundance. Odds are, if you're listening to this podcast, you have a roof over your head, you probably have a cell phone, and to some extent, all your bills are paid. So I'm not implying that we don't have problems. We can have problems and still live in abundance. That's being a human. We all have problems. You can be living in a tent. You could be hunting for food, walking miles for water and purifying it, and still live in abundance. As long as we have food, water, shelter, and some sense of safety, we do live in a sense of abundance. But that concept is completely lost on today's children. In particular, those who are stuck in being a victim and the reality that they created, or the reality that we allow them to create. And what's really paradoxical about this is you can actually be in a dire situation. You can literally be a victim and not feel like one. And it's sense of resiliency and grit. And I have seen people who have had serious, what we call big traumas, and they don't feel like a victim. They're already mustering this sense of resiliency and grit. And it's this mindset, yeah, this horrible tragedy or assault happened to me, but I'm not a victim. And when these children get so much time where they can sit and marinate and just soak into this depression where they have this time they can overthink, they become a victim of this privileged reality. So it's pretty much in your perspective. What is your choice of perspective? We get to pay bills. We get to go to work. We get to go to school. We get to buy groceries. But these children start thinking, I have to go to school. I have to do my homework. If they don't get to do what they want to do, everything becomes a problem. They're a victim of everything they don't want to do. Today's children are so privileged, they're enabled to lay around on their iPads or their phones or their devices or their video games and pretty much do nothing but think about their own pain, their suffering, their stomach aches, their headaches. And with this privilege, they begin to lack a sense of purpose. And a lack of sense of purpose with excess time. They spend countless hours in this silent woe is me energy with no passion or no direction. This can be actually really difficult to treat because trying to inspire someone to realize that they have a decision, that they can actually choose gratitude, they can feel gratitude, which is so evidence-based for healing. And I try to motivate them and explain, we have 86,400 seconds in one day. That means we have 86,400 chances to make a new decision. But when our children or even ourselves are stuck in this privilege of victimhood that flourishes in the presence of boredom, this is utter inability to make a decision which is going to better yourself because there's a problem for every solution, a victim in your own reality. So kids and adults, we use our devices to distract ourselves from our own pain. And online addiction is so real. And creating this reality where we're a victim of it is very real. I have seen 6-year-old men addicted to dating sites. I have seen children as young as 3 addicted to their iPads. I have seen 8-year-olds addicted to adult sites. So this is called cyberpsychology, and this is where it really plays into the role of having the privilege of victimhood, is how do these devices impact our brain development, our mood, and our personalities? Cyberpsychology explores how our bodies are in a state of maladaptive de-evolution of the brain, the body, bone, and muscle structures, and even skull malformations. If you're at all curious about this, do a Google search for gaming body, and it's going to shock you what's going to show up. I see this in particular with male patients who are gaming during adolescence. Their skulls begin to shape differently. Their wrists look very different. The stomach protrudes, the chest concaves. Check it out. It is so worth a Google search. And it's falling into this privilege of being able to sit during formative muscular bone developmental years in front of a gaming device all day long. I see it more common in females with body dysmorphia and comparing themselves to women on social media, especially Instagram and influencers. So children who are exposed to excessive iPad time, device use, and phone use with the lack of ability to use their imagination, they begin to experience a decrease in self-efficacy, an increase in anxiety and depression, as well as a hard addiction to dopamine. And it's really, really hard to break a dopamine addiction. So when you ask a child to go do something or experience a sensation like gratitude, they want a quick dopamine hit. Gratitude is more long-term. It's more sustainable. It has different production of hormones and neurotransmitters. So this dopamine addiction state, these children as young as 2 and 3 years old, and we've coined them sticky iPad kids, are addicted to this dopamine hit. So when you ask them to have some resiliency, some self-efficacy, some grit, oh, but I can't, it's too hard, because it's not a hit of dopamine. So if your child falls into this category of retired overachiever or failure to launch, or they've slipped into this abyss of anxiety and health issues, and there's really no understanding why, there's no medical reason why, and they've stayed in this victim state for a prolonged period of time, with gentle compassion, I want you to ask yourself, how am I enabling their behavior in any way? And do I allow too much device time? And as parents, we want to say, you should be grateful for all that we do for you. And you're right, they should be grateful. I completely agree with that. I address this in great detail in the book, as to why our children become more withdrawn, more distant, and they create more discord. So both truths can exist at the same time. They should feel more grateful. I completely agree. And they also feel like a victim. And one of the more interesting facts about overthinkers is they are chronic underfeelers. So the more a person overthinks, the more it's related to depression. And the more time kids spend in their rooms and on devices, the more time they have to overthink. and the less they feel present in the moment. So the more time someone spends thinking, my life is so bad, why is me? I'm so sick. I can't do like everyone else. I'm not good enough. The more they feel bad and the more this negative energy is in motion. And these thoughts leads to emotions, which creates disease, which they then become a victim of the reality that they created because they have so much time on their hands. And I like to really ponder this question. And I kind of try to do this once in a while for myself. Actually, I try to do it probably maybe 4 days a week. Imagine if we spent more time obsessing over gratitude as we did about our pain and our problems. How different would it feel if we challenge ourselves to obsess, ruminate, overthink, overanalyze all the things that are going great in your life? How different would your life look like? And these are actually called automatic loving thoughts. It's the antidote to automatic negative thoughts. So I ask my pediatric patients, do you think you would still have anxiety and stomach problems if you lived in a really remote, developing country and you had to walk miles to get your water and walk miles back with the water and then make your own rice? And I really want you to think, would you have time to sit around and just think how horrible your life is? And 9 out of 10 say, yeah, no, a light bulb goes off. I would have to go make my own food and water. They begin to see this different perspective of how they are allowing themselves to have this privilege of victimhood. And with all good intentions, you may have played a role in this problem with enabling them to withdraw from life, thinking that you're helping. There's nothing wrong with that. And we think if our child is scared, they have a panic attack, oh, don't expose them, remove all these obstacles. And we talk about this before in attachment styles. Actually, the evidence shows that actually prolongs the privilege of victimhood. It prolongs the resistance. It prolongs the anxiety and enforces the panic attack. So the challenge as parents is we don't want to force gratitude on our child, but they experience this apathy, this complete loss of interest in life. And if we force, you should be grateful, it's going to make the child sicker. So how as a parent can we shift this paradigm? One of the good things, it depends on the age, but watching a documentary film together about people who have survived something, documentary on refugees or an I Survive series. If you're the younger you can do this, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, the more they're going to start realizing how much gratitude and being appreciative of what they have is really important. If you get a 16-year-old, you're going to get an eye roll. But you can also limit or replace their screen time at any age. If they're under your roof, you are in control. And I see this out of so many parents. They are terrified to take the dopamine away from their child because you will see a complete addiction to withdrawal, screaming, temper tantrums, yelling, screaming, fighting. So I challenge you to think about, can you limit your child's screen time, screen agers especially, and start providing moments of glimmer. And moments of glimmer are opposite of victimhood or privilege of victimhood or even trauma. It's, oh, wow, look how beautiful the sunset is. And you sit and actually just watch the sunset. And it's invite them to start seeing life from a new perspective. And this is another way to look at it. If you're at the beach and you're walking the beach, you're looking at the sunset or the sunrise, depending on what coast you're on, and you see it one way, but if you climb into a lifeguard stand, you're going to see the exact same sunset from a different perspective. So our environment, our house, our car, our family, what we eat can all be the same. But instead of I have to pay the bills, we're just shifting to, wow, I have enough money in my account, I get to pay the bills. We're in the exact same environment, we're just shifting the perspective a little bit. So my favorite thing is boots on the ground volunteer work. And when you can teach a child hard work, sweat, grit, resistance, going camping, not glamping, but camping, hard work, which increases the body temperature or decreases it. And grit is the gateway to escaping the privilege of victimhood. And we have hurricanes here in Florida. So we like to do boots on the ground volunteering where we actually go and remove debris and remove trees and branches. And my kids can't operate the saws, of course, but they can haul them away, that's for sure. Or packing up, cases of water and loading them onto semi-trucks. We've even done where we take socks and backpacks down to areas where the homeless are populated. So when you really get boots on the ground volunteering, This has a major impact on them removing that privilege of victimhood because their perspective begins to shift and they begin to feel appreciation for the AC or the heat or being able to sit and have a warm meal. My favorite way to influence your child is to model authentically your gratitude. I am so grateful for this good meal. And you say it in passing, not to them, but you just kind of look at your partner or your spouse or the other child like, oh my God, I'm so grateful this meal is really good. Oh, I'm so grateful for this cup of coffee this morning. I got my formula just right. Oh my goodness, I'm so grateful I got to pay the bills. Like, wow, whew, okay, good, off the plate for the month. Or wow, I'm so grateful we get to have these cell phones. Like I'm just everything I need at my fingertips. I just feel so abundant in my life. And when you begin to actually feel this gratitude within your body, there is science. It's called heart coherence. Authenticity and gratitude is highly contagious because the heart rhythm that you're going to emit, literally, the biorhythm you're going to emit, their brainwave activity is going to pick up on that. So this heart coherence is actually contagious. And I like to describe this through horses because I'm a horse girl. And when my horse is out to pasture with her herd mates and her best friend, Ellie, their heart rhythms begin to link up. That's why horses can be yards and yards apart, hundreds of yards apart, and they can transmit through heart rhythms if a predator. And a horse can be 300 yards away from the herd mate. And the herd mate's heart rate will spike and the horse will feel it and they begin to alert each other through heart rates. Well, this happens with humans also, obviously a much closer proximity. So my favorite is authenticity, a genuine authenticity that you share that vibe, which is highly contagious with your child. We're sharing vibes regardless, whether it be stress or authenticity or genuine. As parents, we can have the most significant influence on our children by modeling authenticity and appreciation and gratitude that can start shifting that they're in this chronic state of privileged victimhood. So in short, two things is to really monitor their device time. If they have got time, boredom, and lack of purpose, the odds are they're stuck in this privilege of victimhood. They have the time and the energy and the resources to stay a victim. And if you've ever been in a position where you've been sick, but you have to work, you didn't have the time or the privilege to be a victim, you showed up, this is what it feels like. It's having the grit and the resiliency to do the things we don't want to do in order to get what we want to get or feel the way we want to feel. And sadly, what I see working with so many, kids is they don't understand grit. They don't understand resiliency. And if you go yank everything away now, you're going to have a counterintuitive reaction. You can't just go yanking this from your kid. It's more of, hey, let's have a conversation. We're going to start challenging and reducing the device time. We're going to start getting outside more. We're going to go start doing boots on the ground volunteering. And then for you as a parent to really start realizing how grateful we are for everything in our lives and that your time and your energy is the most powerful gift you can give to your child, especially when it's coming from a place of authenticity. So my book coming out takes a really deep dive into cyberpsychology, anxiety, gut issues, authenticity, grit, resiliency, and it gets into how we can real world tools, how we can start empowering our child with this. And the book is actually called Empower Your Child to Heal. And it addresses things that are basically the pink elephant in the room, things like the privilege of victimhood. And it's a harsh thing as a therapist to say, hey, your child is so privileged they're a victim. But it's a little safer format of the podcast and in the book that I'm able to address these pink elephants in the therapy room in a safer format where a parent doesn't feel judged and where the child feels safer. You can order it on Amazon now, Kindle pre-order, and it's out October 20th. But for now, you can also go to the website and you'll get actually a chapter download for the book and things that your child wished that they knew that can start helping with anxiety hacks right now. And the website is drskyler.net. And I'm sending so much abundance and authentic gratitude to each and every one of you. Abundant blessings, everybody. Thank you for your time. I feel so grateful you have listened to the end. When we begin to understand how our body manifests stress, trauma, depression, anxiety, and even unexpressed emotions, we then create a space, a bandwidth in our minds to begin to heal our bodies. Healing is a decision, and I am grateful for yours. Abundant blessings, Dr. Schuyler.
more about the work Dr. Schuyler is doing, please visit drschuyler.net. That's drskyer.net. And remember to subscribe to this podcast wherever you like to listen.
Produced by Audivita Studios. Connect your voice to the world.